wherever you are. Send money to your loved ones with MoneyGram via AfriMoney, anytime, anywhere to the Gambia. No sending fees, no cash out fees. Simply go to www.moneygram.com or use the app and select Send through AfriMoney. Cash out at any AfriMoney agent and receive or get $100 is free. Call 777 or dial *777# to register for AfriMoney in Gambia.
Good evening from our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Mumudu Bailobari. In our headlines tonight, President Barrow promised to address road network, electricity, health and water issues in Salum. Banjul Week of Action on Climate Justice and Keep Your Promise campaign launched. Gambia OIC chief proposes fourth flyover for Battle Harden Highway. In sports news, Gambia's volleyball teams dominates opening match at BVB Zone 2 qualification tournament. On the international news, East Africa float. Thousands displaced across 3 countries. Stolen childhoods, hundreds of Palestinian minors held in Israeli jails. Argentina's far right to take power, fears over President-elect's governance agenda. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Many thanks for joining us. During the third day of his Meet the People's tour, President Barrow reaffirmed his commitment to addressing the poor road network, electricity shortages, and water supply challenges. The President made these remarks at a joint meeting held in Lower and Upper Salem in Kauru. Hadijaju files in this report.
Accompanied by his delegation, including cabinet ministers and senior government officials, President Barrow commenced the day's activities by departing from the presidential residence in Farafenni. The convoy proceeded to the ongoing project site, such as the Farafenni Youth Center, rural water supply in Kersule, Jibalang. These projects, educational qualities and access to clean drinking water, were met with appreciation during the president's visit.
The Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance and its partners have on Friday commenced at the Banjul Week of Action on Climate Justice and Keep Your Promise campaign at COP28 located at the Caraba Avenue Highway besides the commune building. This significant aims to address urgent climate change issues and facilitate discussions among stakeholders, policymakers and climate experts on national determination contributions, adaptation and mitigation measures, as well as the role of urban areas in combating climate change. Sally Kamara has more.
With only a few days remaining for parties and global stakeholders to convene in Dubai, United Arab Emirates from November 30th to December 12, 2023 for the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference session, COP28. The Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, in collaboration with the National Environment Agency and the Gambia Environment Alliance based in the Gambia, has launched the Banjul Week of Justice on Climate Change and Keep Your Promise campaign. The event commenced with a march past along the Caraba Avenue building to showcase solidarity in the urgent need to mitigate climate change issues. The theme for the march was preserving the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal and strengthening adaptation, loss and damage actions. During her speech at the event, Benita Sagnier, the National Designated Platform Secretariat of the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, provided a comprehensive overview of climate justice and explained the detrimental effects of climate change.
Climate justice for Africa is an appeal to political sector worldwide to care about the danger climate change poses to Africa. We must continue to create awareness that these political actors must act immediately. The combination of climate change, biodiversity loss, youth unemployment, food insecurity, and high level of poverty in many African countries, including Gambia, remains major danger to the nation's advances towards achieving the goals of sustainable development. These threats are further amplified by the vast rate of forest loss, faster than the rate of regeneration. Unsustainable farming practices, limited awareness, non-viability of seed and seedlings for tree planting activities.
Mr. Seh Alkinkisanyang, the communication officer of the National Environmental Agency, addressed environmental problems related to climate change. He emphasized that climate change is an ongoing issue caused by human activities.
It's an anthropogenic activity. Climate change, all the problems caused by climate change is man-made. It's me, you, and all others who cause those problems on the planet Earth. That's why we say it's here to stay. For that matter, it's here to stay because things that should bring climate problems down are not taken forth. Things that will increase the impact of climate change are things that we are doing. So it seems, we are advocating for more climate problems to come rather than solutions to that.
Omar A. Manjang, a young farmer and a youth negotiator, brings forth compelling evidence highlighting the challenges faced by farmers due to climate change. He strongly believes that it is crucial for the Gambian government to address these issues in order to create a sustainable environment for farmers and all citizens.
So one of those things is that considering the climate agreement, putting it to have 1.5 degrees Celsius. But now, as read by our Honorable Secretary, you realize that that has been exceeded. Now we have realized the global emission has reached to a stage of 1.15 degrees Celsius. And this is a threat to the farming community for the fact that CO2, emission of CO2 at that exorbitant amount affect the development of crops. And if that is done, the food security, the food sovereignty will also put at stake.
Additionally, Abisane, a global youth advocate and a youth negotiator, stresses the urgent need to preserve the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. She reveals that increasing the number of households utilizing solar energy contributes to reducing harmful emissions.
I believe that climate change is something that we can have, despite the fact that we can have a lot of projects ongoing. But then the key, most important thing there is education. Are these people aware about climate change? What is their knowledge? Their knowledge about climate change is something that needs to be assessed. As my boss here says, the initiative, we also have the same initiative, Catch Them Young. The younger generation should be taught. They should be well equipped with climate change. If not, they will go on with that ideology that they have. And it will be very difficult to eradicate some of these challenges that we are facing. So as Action for Climate Empowerment is concerned, we aim at integrating climate change into the national school curriculums in the country and other countries at large.
Despite commendable efforts by the Gambia towards climate justice, the nation still faces various challenges, which include limited to financial resources, inadequate infrastructure, and vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Sally Kamara.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Gambia OIC Secretariat recently held a press conference where he revealed the ongoing efforts towards constructing a fourth flyover for the battle-hardened highway. This flyover is a crucial component of the major OIC project in the Gambia. Modu El Baji has more.
The construction of the OIC road project is part of the Gambia government initiative to ensure the smooth hosting of the Organization of Islamic Congress Summit. The road project has already made significant progress in easing the country's transportation challenges. However, in certain areas, the need for a flyover has become apparent. Yankuba Diba, the Chief Executive Officer of the Gambia OIC Secretariat, emphasized that the road project allows for continuous monitoring and improvement. He described it as an engineering, procurement and construction EPC project.
Good news is that this battle-hardened highway is an EPC project. It's an engineering, procurement, and construction project, which is different from your typical project. It allows for variations, and I'm happy that initially we had only planned for 2 overpasses, and that was for traffic light and Brosubi. But According to the review, the board met and they realized that they needed one more at Olyundo. Because the construction started from the airport end, we took a collective decision that the funds for the one at traffic light would finance the one at Olyundo. Meanwhile, as part of our resource mobilization, we got the Islamic Development Bank to fund the third one. And I want to tell you that last week we met the president of our president met the president of the Islamic Development Bank in Saudi, and there will be even more support because there are things that have been observed that needed to be added to the current plans on the Battle Harding. I think there will be a fourth bypass, which is being considered, and a lot more other things to make the road even more fit for purpose.
The OIC boss noted that this project encompasses both water and electricity infrastructure, essential for improving vital social amenities for local communities. The highway will also be equipped with effective drainage system to address flooding issues. Spanning over 20 kilometers, this road project aims to decongest traffic in the Kanifing area and the West Coast region. Furthermore, it will have a positive impact on operation of NAWEC, benefiting the general public. The project is also designed to enhance the overall infrastructure and ensure the well-being of all Gambians. For Star TV, I am Moduel Baji.
To sports news now, with a dazzling display of skill and unwavering determination, the Gambia female and male volleyball teams achieved an impressive victory in their inaugural matches against Guinea-Conakry and Mali in the ongoing BVB Zone 2 qualification tournament on their quest to secure a coveted spot in the Paris 2024 Games. Mariama Dem reports.
This thrilling encounter took place in Dakar, Senegal on Friday, the 24th of November 2023 as part of Group B in the main draw. The Gambian athletes showcased exceptional teamwork and prowess on the court, clearly demonstrating their unwavering commitment to earning a place in the highly anticipated Paris 2024 tournament. The electrifying atmosphere in the arena was palpable as the Gambian teams faced and conquered the challenges posed by their opponents Guinea-Conakry and Mali, hence emerging victorious. These accomplishments stand as a significant milestone for both the Gambia female and male volleyball teams, securing their first victory in the qualification rounds. This signifies their formidable skills and sets the stage for a promising journey ahead. As the BVB Zone 2 qualification tournament unfolds, all eyes will be fixed on the remarkable Gambian teams as they continue their remarkable journey towards Paris 2024. Maria Madem reporting for Star TV News.
And that story will take us to the commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at news outside the Gambia. Stay tuned.
Nekkal millionaire at Afiso. $3.6 million is to give away. Simply buy a minimum of $10 in credit or data worth $10 to stand a chance of being a millionaire. To enter the weekly and monthly draw, send WIN by SMS to 772 or just call 772 for free. Remember, the more you buy credit or data, the more your chances of being a millionaire. Be that Nekkal millionaire at Afiso, right?
Welcome back after that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studio here in Serekunda. And now we take a look at news outside the Gambia. More than 100 people have died after several floods in Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia. Hundreds of thousands have been forced off their homes. Weeks of heavy rain have followed 3 years of drought across the region. Al Jazeera's Malcolm Webb reports from Tana River County in Kenya.
This is what weeks of torrential rain has done to towns, villages and farmland on the banks of the Tana River. More than 170,000 people have been forced from their homes by floods here in Kenya. Many had to swim or wade to the safety of higher ground where they're staying in camps. Some didn't make it. Rukia Delane and her children are among those who did.
The flood came to our home and we had to cross the water to come here. I was able to save the children, but our chickens were washed away. Here we've had to drink dirty water and the children have diarrhea.
Rukia's children aren't alone. This baby's also had diarrhea since arriving at the camp, along with his sister. There's no clean water to drink. The Red Cross takes them to hospital. It says it'll supply water at the camps, but it needs support.
Looking at what the weatherman has predicted, that we are about to experience the peak of this, and given that it's likely to go over 6 months, the humanitarian needs are going to be huge. that means it's going to be large-scale need for humanitarian assistance.
Meteorologists had predicted the rains. They're connected to the El Niño, a climate cycle in the Pacific Ocean. 2 months ago, the government said it put aside about $65 million to help people. The deputy president has since said there are no funds available.
Yeah, it can be stolen. The corruption can come in, when it is not well coordinated.
Many of the flooded communities are now only accessible by air. From the helicopter, you can really get a sense of the scale of these floods, and all along the banks of the Tana River, thousands of farms have been submerged, the crops destroyed, and this comes off the back of one of the worst droughts in this region in about 40 years. Climate scientists say the cycle of shocks is only expected to get worse. The scientists say the climatic trends can only be stopped by a global reduction in carbon emissions. Governments are due to discuss it at the UN's climate change conference next week in Dubai. Many people here can barely afford fossil fuels, but they pay the highest price. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Tana River County, Kenya.
150 Palestinians set to be released from Israeli prisons in the truce deal are all women and children, many of whom have been held without convictions. Al Jazeera's Hali Hassan takes a look at thousands of Palestinian children whose childhoods have been scarred by the Israeli occupation.
Ahmed Manasra was just 13 when he was arrested in 2015. He was interrogated and later placed in a solitary confinement for 2 years. It took its toll. He ended up in a mental health unit at Ayalon prison. Ahmed is now 21 and remains in an Israeli prison. He's one of hundreds of Palestinians whose childhoods have been stolen through decades of occupation. Some have been subjected to sexual violence, according to the international NGO Save the Children. Salwa was detained when she was only 12. A settler accused her of carrying a knife. She was later released without charges, but many others remain behind bars. There are currently 62 female Palestinians in Israeli prisons. Shuruq Dwayat is serving a 16-year prison sentence for her alleged role in an attempted stabbing attack. Her mother is hoping she'll be released on Friday.
Since the beginning, I was between yes, impossible or possible that there could be a deal, because the situation was really bad. But when I started to hear that they are serious and I heard countries got involved to get the deal done, thank God, I said there will be a deal, and it's happening.
Since October 7th, more than 20 women have been arrested by Israel in the occupied West Bank, among them writers, singers, and former detainees. Ali Hashim, Al Jazeera.
In Argentina, many are worried about the impact of economic reforms proposed by incoming far-right President Javier Milei. He wants to shut down the central bank to fight inflation. Human rights groups are also worried, as Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports from the capital.
For 46 years, they have been coming to this plaza in front of the presidential palace to demand to know the whereabouts of their missing children. Argentina back then was ruled by a brutal military dictatorship that tortured, disappeared and killed thousands of center-left political opponents. But these women never gave up. Candela Fernandez says the election of far-right candidate Javier Milei has stirred fears among human rights activists that freedom of speech and political activism in the country might soon be at risk again.
There is fear about what will happen in a country with a government with an agenda like Milei's. It also generates the uncertainty that we will have to resist.
Javier Milei has promised to reform the Argentine state and implement austerity measures that will reduce government spending. People here fear that this will impoverish the population and that this will lead to violent protests on the streets.
Javier Milei is now getting his cabinet ready ahead of his inauguration on December 10th. He says he's also planning a trip to Israel to show his support to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. For Argentina, His victory is a radical shift to the right. Milei has questioned a decade-long consensus on the atrocities committed by the dictatorship. Argentina has trialed and detained at least 1,000 members of the security forces involved in human rights abuses.
The new vice president has defended those who committed a genocide. They compare what left-wing guerrillas did with the abuses committed by the state. It was state terrorism, and it is not the same.
Argentina is preparing for the beginning of a new era. Most people are desperate for economic stability, but others fear there may be a steep price to pay. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of News Bulletin. But before we go, a quick recap of our main headlines. Barrow promised to address road network, electricity, health and water issues in Salum. Banjul Week of Action on Climate Justice and Keep Your Promise campaign launched. Gambia OIC chief proposes fourth flyover for Battle Harden Highway. In sports news, Gambia's volleyball teams dominates opening match at BVB Zone 2 qualification tournament. On the international news, East Africa float. Thousands displaced across 3 countries. Stolen childhoods, hundreds of Palestinian minors held in Israeli jails. Argentina's far right to take power, fears over President-elect's governance agenda. Well, that's all for this edition of today's news. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Until then, have a very good night and a wonderful weekend ahead.